particulate matter and low ground ozone causes premature mortality and morbidity, illness, disease. It's scientifically sound, peer-reviewed by the medical profession. It comes from these epidemiological studies. They follow cohorts. They follow 8,000 people over a 20-year period. They record what the situation is at the beginning, and they follow them. And some live in dirty cities, some live in clean cities, and then they check to see what the impact is of a change in PM 2.5 or PM 10 arising from. And they find basically in terms of premature mortality that if you increase PM 10 or PM 2.5 concentration by 10 micrograms per cubic meter, premature mortality increases by about 14%, the incidence. There's short-term and long-term exposure. Short-term and long-term exposure causes health damages, and there's no safe thresholds. In other words, none is better. And this is how they come about. They do these studies. They control for all other factors. And here they have the PM concentration. And here they have the incidence, the mortality rate, let's say, or the disease rate, or whatever it is that they want to estimate in terms of the incidence. And they logged it to make it linear, because usually it's non-linear. At very, very low levels, changing a little bit the particulate matter increases the risk a lot. If you are at very, very high levels, you already are, chances are that you'll probably die prematurely. So smoking on one more cigarette, so what? But if you're not smoking a lot, then you smoke one more, be careful. But anyway, that's why we take the log basically to linearize it. And then we use that. I'm going to use that later on. And for 1 microgram per cubic meter, it's 1.4. For 10, it's 14. Okay, I'll come back to it. All right, health impacts from air pollution. Okay, now we're going into a little bit economics. Well, you have lung function problems, you have inflammation, you have cardiac effects. I'm putting down here the proportion of the population affected and the severity of the effects. Then you get into respiratory symptoms, medication use, asthma attacks, doctor visits, school absences, lost work days. I got through, with my son, I got through all these ladder here. And I went to the ER visit, so almost there. But thank God I didn't go to the last part, premature mortality. And research, the Environmental Protection Agency, and I'll show you a few, shows that 80 to 90% of the costs are there. That does not mean that the rest is not significant. And it could be underestimated, because there's suffering and pain that is not included in there. Premature mortality, oh, well, we died. The people that are left over probably suffer more than the person that was diseased. But anyway. How do we measure, how do we put a value on premature mortality? Well, these economists, they come up with this this concept called the value of a statistical life. And it's basically, it's controversial in a way. But it says the following. It says, how much people are willing to pay to reduce the risk of dying prematurely before their time. And way and behold, people are willing to pay a lot. It's the value we place on safety. We have airbags in the car. We have seat belts. We put our kids on a car seat to protect them. From what? From injury. If we didn't have those things, the car would be cheaper. We're paying for those things. We pay our city property taxes to protect us, to keep us safer. Because we value safety. You can think of it the opposite way. You can think of it as a willingness to accept a payment to take a little bit the risk of premature mortality. In the labor market, they do it often. If there is and they find in labor studies, basically, that if there is a fatality risk in there, after controlling for all other factors, experience, etc., all the other elements, experience, education, whatever they are, once you control for all other factors, fatality risk is positively associated with wages. The more risky the job is, the higher the company will pay you to attract you to the company. And you say, okay, sure, I'm holding an explosive. Gee, pay me more. It's a value we place on safety. The median value from 30 US labor market studies is 7 million. 30 US labor market studies. And this is by Harvard guy, Viscosi, in 2005. A paper he wrote on the value of safety, or the value of life. EPA estimates at 9.1 million. EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency. And the Food and Drug Administration in the US, 7.9 million per life saved. Okay? If you want to think about it this way. This is a nice picture that I got from the EPA's site. Think about a population of 10,000 people. We invested here in a water treatment plant. Why did we? We want to be safe, exactly. And we pay for it. We're willing to pay to keep us safe. Before we had the water treatment plant, we were still spending money. We were spending money to keep our water in our house cleaner. So, in a population of 10,000, suppose that you want to reduce pollution, and that would avoid 1 premature death. So there's this red dot. I hope it's not me. But it could be anybody in here. So we want to eliminate that chance. And everybody gets together and says, well, on average, I'm going to be willing to pay 500. Some 1,000, some none because they don't have enough income, etc. But on average, 500. So if you take the 10,000 and you multiply by 500, you get $5 million. That's the value of a statistical life. Okay. All right, let's go to 1990. What time is it? Good. I'll keep you another half an hour, and then we can have question periods. It's important because I have more to show you. My research. The research I've done over the last 8 months. This is a 1997 EPA study. It's a benefit cost analysis. It's the US Clean Air Act. And they were required by Congress to evaluate the 1970 and 1977 amendments, regulations to this Clean Air Act that came in 1963 in place. And I said, hey guys, you know, we're spending a lot of money, the industry is losing money. What are the benefits? Are there any benefits to environmental regulation? And the period of study was from 1970 to 1990. It was peer-reviewed by a scientific advisory committee of Congress. Are there benefits to these regulations, or are we just imposing a higher cost to the industry with no benefits? All right, this is what they found. This is the black lines are this is the air contaminants, total suspended particulate, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, volatile organic compound, and carbon monoxide. And no control is if you let the economy grow and put no regulations. And the one is the control one. So this came down quite significant. These ones came down also, and the carbon monoxide came down. What did they institute? Well, those catalytic converters, which convert basically these the air contaminants into carbon, and there's less of this stuff. What else did they do? Well, remember lead? Right? They removed lead. No more lead. Okay. Again, job. Hey, don't forget jobs. Somebody has to create this catalytic converters. You're creating a whole new industry, but in the clean sector. Oh, you got to change all those gasoline stations, etc., and the refineries, etc. That's a lot of more work. You're losing some work, you're getting some work. And of course, they imposed national ambient air quality measures, standards, that were required to be met. If they were not met, you would be fined. Penalties. Standards with teeth. Oh, what's the other one? Well, and scrubbers for sulfur dioxide. All right, what are the benefits? $17.9 trillion, discounted at 5%. Now, that's a very high discount rate to use, to tell you the truth, for health impacts. But that's what the government requires them to use, 5% discount rate. Because these benefits will accrue over time, right? Over 20 years. So a dollar today is not as good. The dollar today is a lot better than a dollar tomorrow, right? When I ask my child, do you want a candy today or a candy tomorrow? He says, no, Daddy, today I want the candy, not tomorrow. Don't wait tomorrow, please. And how did they get that? Well, there were they estimated that there would be 183,000 lives saved. And each life saved was worth $4.8 million. Do the math, and you'll get about $17 trillion. And there was chronic bronchitis. IQ avoided being lost because they removed lead, so American kids people were smarter or not worse, not as dumb. Hypertension, hospital admissions, respiratory symptoms, pneumonia, ischemic heart failure, shortness of breath, acute bronchitis, asthma attacks, etc. They amounted to 4.2 trillion. Okay? So what? What are the costs? Benefits of a cleaner air, $22.1 trillion. My favorite picture from the campus mom for a healthy environment. I love that picture. What would the cost? $500 billion over 20 years. Peer reviewed. Let me go quickly through this study because I want to get into the campus area. Second prospective study, they did another study in 2011, and I showed you the benefits were 2 trillion and the costs were 65. Well, what did they attack there? In 1990, they said we're going to attack smog. We're going to attack also sulfur dioxide because we want to attack this acid rain problem that we have. And they used permits, actually, and they did a good job. We don't talk about acid rain a lot anymore. And they didn't attack too much fine particles, the direct ones, because there are indirect particles coming out. The indirect particles come basically from these guys here mixing up with these guys. Some chemical reaction up in the atmosphere. I'm not a chemist, I'm not atmospheric, but they create secondary particles. But they attack smog, and smog is caused by these guys, and sunlight. That's my understanding. I'm not a scientist, but my last time I took science was in high school. And here's what they expect. This is from 1990 to 2020. They expect that this is the reduction here. So the darker, the more will be the darker the color, the more the reduction. And you can see basically LA, they're expecting a lot of better in terms of PM 2.5. The eastern US also a lot better. And of course, these guys really are clean anyway, so they don't need a lot of cleanup. Visibility from clean air. I'm sure you would enjoy a life in this world than a life in this world. By the way, this is with a growing economy and a growing population. So whoever tells you that it will be doomsday if the mine doesn't come here, well, I don't know where he gets getting this information, but anyway, I don't think it will be. But anyway, I prefer the bottom one than the top one. I'm going to skip quickly, but the benefits from regulation were 11 trillion and, in terms of premature mortality, and 1 trillion in terms of the arrest. Let me skip that. There we go, same stuff. The costs were only $380 billion, and it's over 10 years. That's why it's less, $12 trillion benefits.